The distress signal had been broadcasting for 3 standard galactic days. Station Keeper Zixtal pressed his four-fingered hand against the communication panel, his purple skin turning a sickly gray with worry. Outside the viewing ports of Mining Station Delta 7, the massive asteroid field of the Corvin system drifted in deadly silence. Still no response from the Galactic Council. His assistant, a small reptilian Vec named Scylla, reported from her console. Her tail twitched nervously as she cycled through emergency frequencies. Zixtal's mandibles clicked in frustration. The mining station housed over 8,000 workers from a dozen different species, all trapped now that the station's main reactor had suffered catastrophic damage from an asteroid impact. They had maybe 2 days of life support left, 3 if they pushed the emergency systems beyond safe limits. What about the Thraxian fleet? They patrol this sector, Zixtal asked, though he already knew the answer. They acknowledged our distress call, but said they cannot spare any vessels. The border conflict with the Mechari Union has all their ships engaged. Scylla's voice carried the weight of their doom. The station shuddered as another small asteroid impacted the hull. Without main power, their deflector shields were offline. It was only a matter of time before a larger rock finished what the first impact had started. In the main habitat ring, panic was beginning to spread. The Yithan workers huddled together in prayer circles, their bioluminescent patches flickering in distress patterns. The sturdy Grimlock miners tried to maintain order, but even their legendary discipline was cracking under the pressure of impending death. "Sir, the Peaceful Alliance just responded," Scylla said, her voice rising with hope before immediately falling. "They say their nearest rescue vessel is 15 days away. They send there their deepest regrets." 15 days. They'd be frozen corpses floating in the void long before then. Zixtal had sent distress calls to every major power in the quadrant. The Galactic Council, the Thraxian Fleet, the Peaceful Alliance, even the notoriously reclusive Etherian Collective. Every response was the same: sympathy, regret, and excuses. "Perhaps we should try the Outer Rim territories," Scylla suggested weakly. "There are some independent traders who would risk their ships navigating an unstable asteroid field for a mining station owned by none of their species." Zixtal interrupted. "No, Scylla. We followed protocol. We called for help from the civilized powers. No help is coming." The temperature was already dropping. Frost began forming on the inside of the viewports as their heating systems struggled with minimal power. In the lower decks, Chief Engineer Torvin reported that they'd lost another backup generator trying to boost the distress signal. "Wait," Scylla suddenly straightened at her console. "I'm picking up a response on an unusual frequency. It's not using standard Galactic Council protocols." "Who is it?" Zixtal moved to her station, hope flickering despite himself. "Unknown. The translator is having difficulty with their language. Something about Earth? System coordinates place them in the Sol system, way out on the galactic rim. They're listed as a Class D civilization, pre-FTL, Deathworld classification due to extreme biodiversity and hostile environment." Zixtal's heart sank. A pre-FTL civilization from a Deathworld? They probably picked up the signal by accident. Ignore it. They can't help us even if they wanted to. But Scylla kept working on the translation. "Sir, they're asking for our exact coordinates and the nature of our emergency. They say they're calculating a jump solution. That's impossible. The database says they don't have jump technology." The communication crackled to life, and a voice came through in heavily accented but understandable galactic standard. "Mining Station Delta 7. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Earth ship Persistence. We've received your distress call. Hold tight, people. We're coming to get you." Zixtal stared at the speaker in disbelief. "This is Station Keeper Zixtal. I appreciate your response, but our database shows Earth has no faster-than-light capability. You cannot reach us in time." There was a pause, then the human's voice returned with what Zixtal would later learn was amusement. "Your database needs updating, Station Keeper. We've been keeping a low profile out here. Nobody helps a death world so we learned to help ourselves. We'll be there in 18 hours. Start prepping your people for evacuation. 18 hours? Scylla squeaked. That's impossible. The fastest council ships would take 3 days through that asteroid field. Yeah, well, Captain Chen's voice carried a strange confidence. We're not council ships. We're humans. And we don't leave people to die in the cold dark. Not when we can do something about it. Persistence out. The channel closed, leaving Zixtal and Scylla staring at each other in stunned silence. Around them, the station continued its slow death spiral, but for the first time in 3 days, they had something they'd lost. Hope. Even if it came from the last place in the galaxy anyone would expect. 16 hours later, Zixtal stood in the station's command center, surrounded by department heads from various species. The temperature had dropped another 8 degrees, and everyone's breath came out in visible puffs. The emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across their worried faces. You're telling me you actually believe these humans are coming? Chief Engineer Torvin growled through his translator. The Grimlock's rocky hide was showing stress fractures from the cold. A species that supposedly just discovered radio waves a few centuries ago. I'm telling you what they said, Zixtal replied, trying to keep doubt from his voice. And our sensors did detect an unusual subspace signature about an hour ago, moving faster than anything in our database. Medical Chief Yila, a delicate Etherian whose gossamer wings were wrapped tightly around her body for warmth, spoke up. Even if they arrive, what can one ship do? We have 8,000 souls aboard. No vessel could carry that many. Before anyone could respond, alarms started blaring. Scylla rushed to her console, her claws clicking frantically across the controls. Multiple contacts emerging from subspace. Distance, that can't be right. They're already inside the asteroid field. On screen, Zixtal ordered. What appeared on their viewing screens defied everything they knew about space travel. Not one ship, but 12 vessels of bizarre design burst from subspace directly into the chaotic asteroid field. Where any sensible spacecraft would be sleek and streamlined, these ships looked like flying industrial complexes, all angles, exposed framework, and what appeared to be massive armor plating. By the sacred cores, Torvin whispered, they're not dodging the asteroids. They're ramming through them. It was true. The lead ship, which their sensors identified as the Persistence, plowed through a cluster of smaller asteroids without slowing. Its hull, scarred and pitted from countless impacts, seemed designed to take punishment that would shred a council vessel. Debris bounced harmlessly off armor that looked like it belonged on a planetary fortress, not a spacecraft. The human ships moved with a reckless precision that made Zixtal's stomachs churn. They spun, rolled, and bulldozed their way through the field, using the asteroid's own momentum against them. One ship actually grappled a massive rock with mechanical arms and hurled it into another, clearing a path. Incoming transmission, Scylla announced, her voice shaking with a mixture of awe and terror. Captain Chen's face appeared on screen. She was not what Zixtal expected. Humans in the database were described as fragile mammals from a Class D death world. But this human's eyes held a hardness that reminded him of veteran Thraxian warriors. Scars decorated her face like badges of honor, and she grinned as another asteroid impact shook her bridge. Station Delta 7, this is the Earth Relief Fleet. Sorry we're a bit late. Had to grab some friends. We've got 3 hospital ships for cargo haulers and 5 escorts. Begin organizing your people for evacuation. Priority goes to the injured and life support dependent species. Captain Chun, Zixtal managed. Your ships, how are they surviving impact that would destroy normal ships? Chun laughed, and several humans behind her joined in. Station Keeper, where we come from, everything tries to kill you. Weather, wildlife, gravity, even the damn plants. We build things to survive Earth. A few rocks? This is just Tuesday for us. Another ship emerged from subspace, this one truly massive. It looked less like a ship and more like someone had strapped engines to a small city. That's the Stubborn Bastard, our colony's ship, Chen explained. She can hold all your people easy. But first, we need to stabilize your station. I'm sending over damage control teams. Damage control teams? Yila asked. But the radiation levels in the damaged sections are lethal. Yeah, about that. Chin's grin widened. You're about to meet some of Earth's finest. Turns out, when you evolve on a death world, you get pretty good at dealing with hostile environments. My teams are already suiting up. Within minutes, shuttles launch from the human ships. But these weren't the elegant, shield-protected craft the galaxy was used to. These were bulky, over-engineered beasts that smashed through smaller asteroids rather than avoiding them. They looked like someone had taken ground vehicles and simply bolted rockets to them. The first shuttle docked with a teeth-rattling clang that made the whole station shudder. The airlock cycled, and Zixtao got his first look at human damage control specialists. They were terrifying, encased in powered armor that would make a Grimlock warrior jealous. The humans moved with a casual strength that defied their supposedly fragile mammalian nature. Their leader, who introduced herself as Sergeant Williams, stood nearly 7 feet tall in her suit and carried tools that looked more like weapons. "Where's the radiation leak?" she asked without preamble. "Sector 7, but the levels," Torvin started, "are about half what we get from a bad solar storm back home," Williams finished. "Johnson, Martinez, you're with me. Let's go fix this rust bucket." As the humans headed toward certain death, laughing and making wagers about who could work fastest, Zixtao felt something he hadn't experienced in days. Hope. Real, solid hope. The Deathworlders had come. The impossible was happening before their eyes. In the damaged Sector 7, where radiation would kill most species in minutes, the human repair teams worked with shocking efficiency. Their welding torches burned bright as they patched hull breaches, replaced damaged conduits, and somehow jury-rigged solutions that Torvin's engineering textbooks said couldn't work. They're using asteroid fragments as patch material. Torvin reported from his monitor, his voice filled with disbelief. They're literally welding space rocks into our hull, and somehow making it stronger than before. Zixtao watched the human team's work, noting how they moved in perfect coordination despite the chaotic environment. When a massive piece of debris threatened to crush one of them, another human simply caught it with their armor's mechanical arms and tossed it aside like garbage. Meanwhile, the evacuation had begun. The human shuttles arrived in waves, each one taking aboard hundreds of terrified aliens. The pilots navigated the asteroid field like they were playing a game, whooping with joy when they pulled off particularly dangerous maneuvers. "This is insane," muttered diplomatic attaché Velix, his feathers ruffled with stress. No species should be this comfortable with danger. But what truly amazed everyone was how the humans treated the evacuees. Where the Galactic Council would have sorted by species value or political importance, the humans simply loaded whoever was closest. A Yethan child received the same careful handling as a Grimlock elder. The humans even carried the smaller species in their arms when the artificial gravity fluctuated. In the medical bay, Yila watched in stunned silence as human medics worked alongside her staff. They had brought supplies that seemed impossible, medicines that worked across species barriers, equipment that adapted to different physiologies, and, most remarkably, they did it all while joking among themselves. "How do you know so much about alien biology?" Yila asked one medic, a dark-skinned woman who was successfully treating a critically injured Vec. "Lady, back home we've got creatures that spit acid, bugs the size of your hand that can kill with one sting, and fish that swim up your—" She paused, glancing at the children nearby. "Well, let's just say we got real good at dealing with biological diversity. Your folks here are actually pretty straightforward." 3 hours into the evacuation, just as things seemed to be going smoothly, new alarms screamed. Scylla's scales turned white. Asteroid designation Gamma. One has shifted trajectory. Impact in oh no. It's massive. It'll destroy the entire station. On the screens, everyone could see death approaching. An asteroid the size of a small moon, knocked loose by the gravitational disruptions of the human ship's arrival. "Evacuate faster," someone screamed. "There's no time," another voice cried out. Captain Chen's voice cut through the panic. All Earth ships, this is persistence. Execute Operation Bulldozer. I repeat, execute Operation Bulldozer. Captain, that's suicide. Another human voice protested over the comm. Maybe, Chen replied calmly. But we didn't come all this way to fail now. You know what to do. What happened next would be remembered in Galactic Council archives as the day humanity announced itself to the galaxy. 5 of the escort ships broke formation and accelerated directly toward the massive asteroid. They flew in perfect formation, their engines burning so hot they left trails of ionized gas. They go to ram it, Zixtal breathed. No, Torvin corrected, his instruments showing impossible readings. They're pushing it. The human ships matched velocity with the asteroid and began firing their engines at full power. The stress on their hulls was visible. Armor plates buckled, structural members groaned, but they kept pushing. The asteroid trajectory began to shift, degree by agonizing degree. Hull breach on the Defiant, someone reported. Tell them to seal it and keep pushing. Chun commanded. The human ships were literally breaking apart under the strain, but they didn't stop. Pieces of hull plating tore away, engines overloaded and exploded, but still they pushed. The asteroid's path shifted more and more until... Clear, Scylla shouted. It'll miss us by 2 kilometers. A ragged cheer went up from everyone watching, but it died as they saw the state of the human ships. 3 of the 5 were crippled, venting atmosphere and spinning out of control. Rescue shuttles immediately launched from the other vessels. Did we lose anyone? Zixtal asked quietly. Chen appeared on screen again, her face grim but determined. 15 injured, no deaths. My people know how to build things tough, including themselves. But we need to speed up the evacuation. Our escorts took a beating. The final hours of the evacuation were a blur. Human efficiency had turned what should have been a catastrophe into a massive rescue operation. They repaired systems that had been dead for days, reinforced structures with improvised materials, and somehow managed to save every single life on the station. As the last shuttle departed, Zixtal stood on the bridge of the Stubborn Bastard, looking back at the mining station that had been his home. Around him, 8,000 souls from a dozen species were alive because a bunch of primitive Deathworlders had answered a distress call that the rest of the galaxy had ignored. Why? He asked Captain Chun, who stood beside him. Why risk everything for strangers? Chun was quiet for a moment, then smiled. Because we remember when we were alone in the dark, calling for help that never came. We learned that if you want to survive, sometimes you have to be the help you wish someone else would send. The journey to the nearest safe port should have taken weeks. The human fleet did it in 3 days, their ships somehow maintaining speeds that violated several laws of physics as the Galactic Council understood them. During the voyage, the rescued aliens witnessed something that would change galactic politics forever. The humans shared everything. In the massive cargo holds of the Stubborn Bastard, converted into temporary shelters, human crew members distributed food, water, and supplies without asking for payment or promises of reward. They taught Yithin children card games, showed Grimlock miners how to improve their tools, and even shared their music with anyone who would listen. This goes against every principle of resource management. Velix observed to Zixtal as they watched humans teaching a group of Vec how to play something called football in an empty cargo bay. They're depleting their reserves for no guaranteed return. I mentioned that to Sergeant Williams, Zixtal replied. She laughed and said, "You can't eat money when you're dead in space." I'm beginning to understand their philosophy. But it was in the medical bays where human nature truly shone. The humans had suffered injuries too, some severe from their battle with the asteroid. Yet they insisted on being treated last, after every alien was cared for. One human engineer with a broken arm spent 6 hours helping Torvin understand their impossible engine modifications before accepting treatment. When they finally arrived at Harmony Station, the greatest trading port in the sector, word of the rescue had already spread. The dock was crowded with representatives from every major government, news agencies, and curiosity seekers. The Galactic Council itself had sent a delegation. High Counselor Zephyr, resplendent in his ceremonial robes, approached as the refugees disembarked. His four eyes focused on Captain Chun with barely concealed condescension. "Captain, the Council wishes to thank you for this unexpected assistance. We are prepared to compensate Earth for the resources expended, though I must remind you that your world has not yet been granted provisional membership status." Chun looked at the High Counselor, then at the thousands of aliens her people had saved. When she spoke, her voice carried to every recorder and microphone present. "Keep your compensation. We didn't do this for payment or political favor. We did it because it was right." She turned to address the crowd. "Earth formally announces our presence on the galactic stage. We've spent the last 50 years developing our technology in secret because we learned early that the galaxy doesn't care about Deathworlders." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Earth had FTL technology for 50 years. How had they hidden it? Chun continued. "You labeled us Class D, primitive, not worth notice. When our early transmissions reached you, asking for knowledge, for trade, for friendship, you ignored us. When disaster struck our world, earthquakes, tsunamis, plagues, we called for help. No help came. The crowd grew silent. So we helped ourselves. We reverse-engineered the crash scout ship you never bothered to recover from our system. We developed our own technology, our own solutions. We united our fractured nations because we realized that in a galaxy that didn't care if we lived or died, we only had each other." Zixtal stepped forward. "But you came when we called." "Yes," Chin smiled at him. "Because we refuse to be like you. On Earth, we have a saying, be the change you wish to see. We want a galaxy where distress calls are answered, where species help each other regardless of classification or political value. Today, we started building that galaxy." High Counselor Zephyr sputtered. "You cannot simply declare yourselves a galactic power. There are procedures, applications, waiting periods." He was cut off by sound that started small, but grew like thunder. The 8,000 refugees were applauding. Different species, different methods. Some clapped, some stamped, some whistled, but the message was clear. Then dock workers joined in. Then merchants, travelers, even some of the council guards. Furthermore, Chun raised her voice over the applause. "Earth is establishing the Terran Relief Fleet. Any distress call, anywhere in the galaxy, will be answered. No species too small, no location too dangerous. You can keep your classifications, and your bureaucracy will be too busy saving lives." In the following days, something unprecedented happened. 17 worlds formally requested alliance with Earth. Not the Galactic Council, Earth directly. The Vet Commonwealth offered mining rights. The Then Collective shared their agricultural techniques. Even the proud Grimlocks initiated a military exchange program. The Galactic Council found themselves facing a new kind of power. Not one built on conquest or economic might, but on something far more dangerous, reputation. Stories spread of human courage, of their willingness to risk everything for strangers. Videos of human repair teams working in lethal radiation, of escort ships pushing asteroids while falling apart, of medics treating aliens before their own wounded, spread across the galactic net. Within a month, Earth had more allies than some species who'd been spacefaring for millennia. The Deathworlders, the ignored primitives from a hostile world, had become the galaxy's first responders. And somewhere in the void, a new distress signal sounded. Before the Galactic Council could even convene a committee to discuss it, 12 human ships were already jumping to respond. Because that's what Earth did now. They answered the calls that nobody else would. They had become the help that doesn't come until it does.